Hi, welcome to Road Bike Culture. I'm your host, Kevin Isley. Today we're going to talk about my philosophy on teaching a kid how to ride a bike. When I found out my wife was pregnant and we were going to have a child, I really fell in love with the idea that my kid is going to be a bike rider and my kid is going to love cycling as much as I do. And I just started obsessing over it. Once he was born, I started watching a lot of YouTube videos with little 3-year-old kids on balance bikes in skate parks pulling some amazing tricks. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be my kid. So for Christmas, we bought him a specialized balance bike because I obsess with bikes and I wanted his bike to be my N+1. And I want him to have rubber tires that were inflated with air and not wooden or plastic tires. Once he got his bike, he was super excited and I put him on it and I started pushing him around the house and he was absolutely in love with this bike. He loved being on it and he loved being pushed around. Once we got past the phase of me pushing him around, he never started doing the strides. He never really wanted to walk with it in between his legs. He just didn't get it or didn't like it or didn't connect with it. Whatever it was disheartening. But I persisted. I kept pushing the bike because I just had an obsession with him loving bikes and I was pushing my obsession on him. But as kids always do, they do the path they choose. And his path was not choosing the balance bike. So I gave up for a long time, and he didn't mind that we were no longer playing with the balance bike. When he turned about 3.5, he started taking an interest in the balance bike again, and my kid is incredibly tall. So he basically was outgrowing it really fast, and I just didn't know what to do. So for his 4th birthday, I went to Mike's Bikes where I bought the first bike and I traded it in for the next size up, a 16-inch bike with coaster brakes and training wheels. So when I was at Mike's Bikes, the person selling me the new bike was like, oh, did he love the balance bike? Does he have all the balance down? I said, no, he never took to it. Then they suggested I take the cranks off and just use this bike as a larger balance bike. And I almost did it, but I started thinking, my son didn't like the balance bike. And my job as a parent is to build a love of bike riding in my child. And so I decided to leave the cranks on and put training wheels on that bike. When I brought the bike home and I gave it to my son, he went crazy and he loved the fact that it had training wheels because in his mind, he was of an age where training wheels was the way to do it and he was like, I want to go ride my bike right now. So we went and rode his bike. He loved his bike. He loved his training wheels. He loved pedaling. He loved being on it. He was building a love and passion for riding his bike. And we went through this for about 6 months. At about 6 months, I told him, when you turn 5 years old, I'm taking off the training wheels. There will be no more. And he got scared. He got disheartened. He got nervous. And there was one point coming home from a bike ride that he said, Dad, maybe bike riding is just your thing. It's not mine. And my heart sank. I was crushed by this because I really want him to love bike riding. From my memories of being a child, getting on a bike, bikes have always been the most freeing thing in my life. It is that moment in time when you become free. I felt more freedom when I learned how to ride a bike than I did when I got a car at 16. And I wanted this for my son so badly. But we were still on training wheels, and one of the big problems with training wheels is when you make a turn, training wheels force you to lean to the outside, which causes you to tip over and crash. And my son had a lot of big crashes, some where he got kind of injured. But he still loved riding his bike, and because he was on training wheels, I wasn't going to let him not train, so we went to do a lot of climbs. He climbed a lot on his bike with training wheels because at least I wanted to build strength in him, an ability to climb. But you can't stand up when you have training wheels on because the rocking back and forth makes you crash, so he doesn't like standing up on his bike. After all the hill repeats and after all the talking about him becoming a cyclist, I was beginning to read him this book called Froggy Learns to Ride a Bike, and I read this every night until I got sick of it, and then I read it once a week. And in this book, Froggy had a horn and a bell on his bike. And Parker said, I want a horn and a bell. I said, I'll buy you the bell right now, but you don't get the horn until you learn how to ride without training wheels. So I went and bought him a bell. When he turned 5 years old, I took the training wheels off, just like I said I was gonna do, and he lost interest in the bike for a while. But I still took him to the park. I still ran behind him, holding onto the seat and letting go for a little while. And I would always catch him before he fell because I didn't want him to get hurt. It's not that I didn't want my son to get hurt. I didn't want him to get scared of the bike. So I caught him every time. And this went on for about a month. And in my mind, I'm thinking, when do I not catch him? When do I just let him crash and experience bike riding? And I had no idea when that was gonna happen. And then one day, he took off when I let go. And I couldn't catch him, and just blazing ahead. And I ran after him, and when I finally caught him, it was right before he was gonna crash. I lifted him up, and he didn't crash. But I knew he had it. He had all the technical ability to ride without training wheels. Now it's about confidence. And I told him, we can go for a family ride when you learn how to start by yourself and stop by yourself. So we still have some more work to do. And we worked on it, and he was motivated and he was excited. Couple of months of this, and he learned how to take off without any assistance, and stopping came a little bit later, but that was pretty good. Then one day I took him out to the polo fields in Golden Gate Park, and he rode for almost 1 mile. It was 0.9 miles. And when he got done, he fell over. I couldn't catch him. I was still running, and I saw him laying on the ground, but I knew he wasn't hurt. He was just exhausted. When I finally caught up to him, he looked up at me and he said, Dad, can we go on family bike rides now? And I said, yes, we can. Since that day, we've been going on family bike rides, and you'll see that on my Strava, a bunch of little 5-mile rides with my family, and I have some pictures up there with that. Today, he's up to about 8 miles, and I'm hoping this weekend we're going to get him up to 10 miles. He's 5 years old, and that is a really big distance, but he has the endurance to do it. He has the body type to do it. He has the will and desire to do longer distances. His next goal is to ride across the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, I think that just about covers it. My philosophy of teaching your child how to love their bike and maybe even become a cyclist. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm sometimes on Twitter, I'm on Facebook. And until the next time, I hope to see you out there on the road.